Peter, who denies Christ 3 times. And once again, there are times that I am tempted to not show my faith because I feel like they're going to think I have 4 eyes. But I have found that when I show my faith, God protects me. And I don't feel embarrassed. But there have been times when I've shrunk and not showed my faith. And then I'm really embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for myself. And then God forgives me. Now, what happens now is he denies Christ 3 times. This next item I thought was really interesting because it is just exactly what I would do. John 23 through 5. Peter and John are running to the empty tomb. Do you remember the story? Is it Mary? Comes and says, hey, he's alive. Okay? Christ is alive. So the text goes on and says how John and Peter are running to the tomb. But it specifically says that John ran faster than Peter. So just imagine, you just got done saying, I don't even know that guy. Then they say he's alive. You know he's God. You're running, and all of a sudden, because Peter, he was a strapping guy, supposedly. He could outrun John. Peter's running. He's slowing down. Why is he slowing down? Why would I slow down? Why would you slow down? He doesn't want you anymore, does he? Christ doesn't want you. That's what Peter thought. So he slowed down. I thought that was really interesting. I'm sure that other people have read that. It was just a revelation to me. In John 21:3, Peter says these great words. They said, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing. What that means is I'm despondent. I'm done. I've had it. It's over. I just want to bury myself in the sand. I want to be anonymous. I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. As in John 21:6, you got Christ who comes up on the shore. I believe that he created a fire and was cooking breakfast. They said it's the Lord. Peter was on the boat. He took his clothes off and jumped in and went to see Christ. Because, see, that's what God does for me. He says, you may be a piece of dirt, but I still love you. Now, the enemy says, Tom, you are a piece of dirt. Why don't you just do what you want? What's the difference? I mean, it doesn't matter. God says, Tom, you're a piece of dirt, and I love you. So, you see, in essence, Satan will always misquote Scripture, but that's consistent. Satan will tell me similar things, or the enemy will tell me similar things. I'm a piece of dirt. God will tell me the same thing, but he says he loves me. I'm going to take that. Now, Peter is so excited. Hey, thank God, you're not going to forsake me. You still love me. Now, in 21, verse 15 through 25, he's telling Christ he's not running the universe right again. Because he wants to know, what are we going to do with John? Now, I don't understand why he asked that. And he was talking about the Apostle John. I'm not sure if he was wanting to kneecap him or what, but he was really wondering. And Christ says, what is it to you that if I allow him to remain for a while? I don't understand. But either way, God, you're not running the universe correct again. So when I and we have this euphoria, and then, gosh, in 5 minutes, I and we feel like, where'd that thought come from? Well, it's no different than Peter. I mean, I can't imagine. I'd love to be better than Peter. I would love to. I mean, that sounds like he'd be on the all-star team. He's in the Bible. But I can't be. I can't be just as bad as him, though. And I think it's important for me to understand that. Okay, how'd you like to be Peter and to write these stories about you in the Bible? That wouldn't be fun. Today's business climate, we're moving too fast. Things change daily. I can't keep up. I want to quit. I'm despondent. Too much information. I mean, how many of us say, wow, I made a decision. What is long-term planning? Does anybody have an idea what that is anymore? It's a waste of time, right? Yeah, because it's going to change tomorrow. So we're all in the same soup when it comes to that in business. And what's interesting is this all came through God's hand. God says He gives us labor to keep us occupied. That's it. It's almost an afterthought. My job is to keep me out of trouble. That's what our job is. So why is it so important to me? Paul says he's content in plenty, and he's content in little. Well, I always say that that's exactly how I am. I am exactly like that. I'm content in plenty, and I'm content in very little, as long as I have plenty. I got no problem with that. Now, when there's little, I'm just not that content. So it's easy to be content when there's plenty. It's like eating corn on the cob. Do you guys ever watch people when you're in a big gathering and they throw out this corn on the cob and there's 10 people and there's 20 or 30 ears of corn? They don't eat the corn very clean. They usually want to grab one or two, well, two, but usually there's corn left on the cob. But when there's 10 people and there's 10 corn on the cobs, those cobs are clean. So, you see, we're just that way. You know, we can fight against it, but we're just that way. I want to give you some parting shots. How much time do I?
Oh, a minute and a half.
I shouldn't ask that. Now you know what I go through. Proverbs 3, 5 through 8. I won't open it up and read it, but it's trust in the Lord. But at the end it talks about how it will be pleasing to our soul. Proverbs 4:23. Watch over your heart with all diligence. That's important. And I read these all the time. Glenn and I are going to study Ecclesiastes. Glenn Ewing and I are going to study Ecclesiastes here. But I read these all the time. Not because I'm smart, but because I'm dumb. Because I forget them. And I want to read them. Proverbs 14:23. In all labor there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Wow, that's a good thing for us to understand. I love the young people today because, like, I've got a 22-year-old son, and he'll come and tell me what he's going to do. I mean, like, Dad, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. And he thinks he's 90% of the way there just by saying it. That's not the way it is. So, you know, we can talk a lot, but what God says is there's there's profit in our labor. The talking leads to poverty. Proverbs 18:1. He who separates himself seeks his own desire. He quarrels against sound wisdom. Why do I say that? Because David Meal talked to you last month. David and I meet quite often. David told me a couple weeks ago, he goes, Regina, he goes, you're sequestering yourself. You know, business isn't that good. That's the truth. I was telling John Tabor, you know, sometimes you feel like a failure. I mean, that's good. It's only good after you're not a failure, mind you. But you tend to want to resign. You want to get away from people. You don't want to be around people as much. You want to have a backache because you can get out of stuff. But the thing is, that's not sound wisdom. That's folly. Excuse me. I say this because I remember this in business generally. Drive out the scoffer, and contention will go out. Strife and dishonor will cease. I'm going to read that again. This is Proverbs 22:10. Drive out the scoffer, contention will go out, strife and dishonor will cease. Let's not get lazy in bad times. Let's make decisions. Let's not be afraid of confrontation. How many times do we get mad at somebody and they've done something and they don't even know it? And then we go tell somebody else. Well, that somebody else can't help us, right? What we have to do, and God protects this. He protects this communication. We got to go to the person that upset us. Maybe we're wrong. But the thing is, you always want to face confrontation. If we run from it, it's not good for our business. It's a lot better that way, and they get done a lot quicker. You know, it's funny, men, they fight different than women. Men just want to come in with an airplane, a bomber, you know, and drop the bombs, and it's over. Game over. And then they realize that the women, and I mean this with all sincerity, they fight a turf war. And the men aren't equipped for that. The men can only fight we don't have the endurance to fight all the time. We just are way out of our league. So, confrontation, now that's my opinion, okay? It's not in Scripture. But, nothing wrong with confrontation, but understand that, in my opinion, as men and women, we confront things differently. I know my wife, man, you know, I can't out-endurance her, there's no way. Proverbs 24:10, if you are slack in the day of distress, your strength is limited. Once again, when there's a problem, I think we should face it. Ecclesiastes 5:11, this is really good. I remember this from about the time I got saved. When good things increase, those who consume them increase also. So what is the advantage to their owners but to look on? Now, what makes us wealthy? How do we define wealth? We define it by the average of everybody else. Now, if nobody has a new car, and everybody has cars that are 10 years old, and I have a car that's 5 years old, I'm wealthy. I got the best car. So we define our wealth by what everybody else possesses. And we define the wealthy by what we possess. So what God says, if good things increase, and then people that use the good things increase also, big deal. You know? So let's go back 50 years. I know my parents never had a new car. You know? So it's really interesting how we define wealth. God gives us the understanding that we measure our success by what other people possess. If we were ants, and there was a cardboard box, and we all had to live in the cardboard box, I wouldn't want to be an ant, and I wouldn't want to live in a cardboard box. But were I an ant, I'd want the corner, and I'd want to get high up in the box, so I could have a corner office. See, we all strive for that. We all strive for that. Ecclesiastes 7:10. This is great. The former days are not better than now. We just remember them that way. So he says that's foolishness. So was yesterday better? Absolutely, because I was taller, I was thinner, I had more hair, and I was smarter. But that's not true. Most of that's true. But I wasn't taller, okay? Coach was doing a short joke on me here earlier, Coach Kendall. And I just want to tell you, Coach, I'm not offended. But, at least publicly. But remember that when we look back on yesterday, we're going to remember it fondly. I think God allows that. You know, otherwise, geez, just imagine if we remembered all the bad stuff, you know, and remembered it bad. No, we're going to look on the past days. Hey, it smelled better. Hey, people were nicer. Whatever. But that's not from wisdom. The former days were not better. God says that. And he also says, be careful that we're going to look forward to tomorrow. Because a lot of people put their stake and their faith in tomorrow. But we may not have it tomorrow. He says, eat, drink, and be merry. Because it all was made by God. The enemy says, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. I want to eat, drink, and be merry because I want to do it within the oracles of God. Well, thank you very much. God bless you.